Hey guys, what's up? My name is Bob and Fishy. Welcome to another Spellbook Prophecy Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile. Haven't done one of these in a while. The deck was pretty similar to how the last build that I did of it was. It still is, honestly. It's not... I haven't changed it up too drastically, but I did want to do a little update. This is what I've been using. I know there are a bunch of improvements that you can make, but this is what I have, what I've been using. So, let's go ahead and start. First off, we are running one copy of High Priestess of Prophecy. I think one's enough. Basically, the reason for that is because right now there are a bunch of other cards in this deck that I feel can pull off a lot of the more, just kind of power stuff that I'm doing. And we'll get into that as we go. But, yeah, Priestess, still super valuable if you can get her on the field. But it's I don't think the deck really needs to rely on her as much as it used to. So, just one's enough. Next up, of course, 3 copies of Spellbook Magician of Prophecy. Magician is super good. He's your Stratos. He just searches most of the deck. I think it's like, oh gosh, I think it's close to 16 or 17 spellbooks in this deck. I should have counted beforehand, but whatever. Anyway, he can search all of them, so... he's really useful. Next, 2 copies of Kycoo the Ghost Destroyer. This is probably the MVP right now of just, like everything that I do. Sorry, I'm stealing Raiden from Raiden in Dark Games phrase, but whatever. Kycoo's super useful against most decks. Stuff either doesn't like having their stuff banished or doesn't like not being able to banish stuff from graveyards. So there's like It really is brutal against a lot of different decks. So being able to put a kycoo on the board is really nice. Next up, 2 copies of Magical Exemplar. Exemplar is actually really good. I used to have one and I took it out a while ago, but we're putting it back in. Basically, Exemplar lets you put 2 spell counters on yourself every time you activate a spell card. And since this is Spellbooks, we're running 26 spells. So, yeah, basically... she can load herself up with spell counters, and what you do with them is, if you have a spellcaster in your, I think it's any monster, I don't know, monsters in your hand or graveyard, you can remove spell counters equal to their level, and then special summon them, which is really handy, just because you can put, pretty much like, you can put a priestess on the field very easily, or if it's in your graveyard for some reason. It basically just lets you reuse a lot of cards, and that's always useful for a deck like this, where you don't have a ton of monsters. You want to get as much use out of your monsters as you can. Exemplar lets you do that, and it's very good, because you already have access to Spellbook of Life. Exemplar can supplement that really well, and it's one of the easier ways to put a strong board together very quickly, which this deck has struggled with in the past, so... definitely something to consider if you're trying to make a deck like this. Next up, 1 copy of Jowgan the Spiritualist. He's basically a walking vanity's emptiness. He's super good. I actually, for a while, I was considering running 2 of it, just because it's that good. It really can, lock down your opponent. The only negative is the 200 attack, 1500 or 1300 defense. But as you'll see later, we do have ways of getting around that. So. Jowgan is super good just because being able to shut down entire decks just by putting itself on the field can be really nasty. Plus, it has a second effect. If you discard a random card from your hand, destroy all special summon monsters on the field, which is really nasty. If your opponent puts together a really big board, I'm going to summon Jowgan, discard a card, whatever, and your board's gone. So it's really nasty if you can make use of that. Next up, last monsters, 2 Valor. I still am main decking Valor. I still think it's really good. Had an errata with the Legendary Collections 5Ds that makes it so that it negates the opponent's monster's effect for the rest of the turn as opposed to until the end of the turn, which actually does make a difference. So it's gotten even better, and it's still a spellcaster, which means if you put it in the graveyard, your tower's live. Can make life live. It's just super good in a lot of different situations. Plus, it's a tuner. So, you can tune for different synchros. I have a couple of synchros in here. in the extra deck over here. But anyways, it's really useful. So another option would be Ghost Ogre Snow Rabbit or whatever it's called. I think that's what it's called. But I don't have those. Gonna be straight up with you. I don't have either, or I don't have that card. So Veiler is still super good in my opinion. So neat. Next up, we're gonna go ahead and do the spells. So let me grab these. Okay, first off, I'm gonna do spell books first, and then the rest of the generic spells. So triple secrets. Secret searches all your spell books. It can search your spellbook, Magician, or Prophecy. If you don't understand why this card is good, then I don't know. Learn to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Basically, because it's really good. Next up, I actually still do run the Triple Master. Absolutely love having 3 of these in the deck. I know a lot of people are like, oh, 3's too many. It's like, for what? It's super good. It's like the second best spell card you can draw. Like, yeah, it can be dead early if you draw like all 3 of them, but I'd rather draw 2 or, whatever than not draw it. So whatever. I still run 3. I've, won tournament games where it's just like draw triple master and a blue boy to start. It's like, oh man, this is the best opening ever. People don't get it, but whatever. Anyway, super good. So I like it. Next up, 1 copy of Spellbook Star Hall. Since we're running all these searchy spells, I'm not actually running Crescent, and I'll explain why in a bit. But Star Hall, super good just for building up a lot of counters, or even just a few counters. Lets your kycoo attack over stuff, because kycoo's at 1800 attack normally, which is really good. Magical exemplar is 1700, so you put a couple of counters on that. You don't even need a lot. You just need a few, and then you're really good to go. Has a nifty secondary effect where if it's destroyed, you get to search a spellcaster, which you can trigger yourself if you like MST it. So, that's cool. Anyways, yeah, I like it. Next up, 2 copies of Tower. Grand Spellbook Tower is a must in spellbooks. If you're going to be running it, you pretty much have to run at least 1 or 2 of these. I run 2 rather than Secret Village of the Spellcasters, just because that can really lock you down. But we'll get into that later. But yeah, this gives you an extra draw every turn, which is super handy. We'll run into some synergy with a later card, but yeah, this lets you loop your Fate because you only have 1. So it's really good, basically. 1 Spellbook of Fate, because Fate is your pretty much all-purpose out to everything short of towers. You definitely that's Cliffort Towers, but this guy's still super good. Like, your opponent puts on something that's like super powerful. Okay, Fate it. Just Fate, whatever. Or you can, book a moon. Like, it has a book a moon effect. Basically, if you don't know what Fate does, it lets you banish one of your opponent's cards. Doesn't have to be a monster. It can be anything. Doesn't target. Doesn't destroy. It's basically a really quick out to whatever, which can be really, really helpful. So anyways, next to Eternity. Oh yeah, Fate can also book and moon stuff. So Eternity gets your spellbooks back after you use Fate, because you're going to want to use Fate like every turn. So yeah, Eternity, you need 2 of it to get your cards back. Next up, 1 copy of Power. I'm only running the 1 Power, and I know a bunch of people are going to be like, oh, why don't you just drop a Master and add in another Power? Because Master's better in a lot of situations, in my opinion. That's why. But Power's still really good, so we run 1 of it, and we can potentially just copy it with Master later. So yeah, nifty. 2 Wisdom. Spellbook of Wisdom is basically like a Forbidden Lance, except for that you can pick whether to be immune to spells or traps, which actually comes in handy a lot more than you'd expect. So, yeah, very good. Can, let you dodge raigekis, can let you do a lot of different stuff, and it's just really good. So, last spellbook. Spellbook of Life is basically, it's a little bit more complicated to use, but it's basically a Monster Reborn or a Premature Burial. That's the one. But yeah, it's really, really handy for Prophecy, for any spellcaster deck. So yeah, I like it. Anyway, that's all the spellbooks. Got this nice little pile. I'll move it over. Next, triple upstart goblin. We run triple upstart because Everybody knows why upstart's good. It lets you draw a card, which thins the deck a bit, lets you get to your big plays quicker. But it's even better in spellbooks because we're running magical exemplar. We have the ability to put counters on stuff every time we activate one of these, and basically it just lets us. Basically, in spellbooks, since it's a bit older as in terms of like archetypes and all that, it's less about looking for generally good cards and more about looking for cards that have good synergy with the cards you're already running. Which is why cards like Upstart are super good, just because you're already going to be, running cards that benefit from activating lots of spells. So adding in more spells to activate is just, handy generally. Book of Moon. Book of Moon is another card like that. Book of Moon's already really good, but because of the fact that Spellbook Magician of Prophecy gets an extra search every time he gets flipped face up, Book of Moon is even better. Another good option is Book of Eclipse. I didn't have room for it, but Book of Moon's super good. So that's another one. Raigeki. Spellbooks generally struggle building up field control, or, building up a lot of field advantage. So if your opponent overextends and you can stop them, and then Raigeki them and just eliminate, multiple monsters, so you can, kind of sit on your one or two monsters and, try to build up advantage from there. That's really good, so Raigeki's a must. This one's going to be kind of interesting. Some players are playing this, some aren't. Mass Change 2. I really like this. I saw the use of this card right when it came out. But Mass Change 2 is basically, it's like a Mass Change, but you don't have to use a hero. In my situation, I end up using either kycoo or, more often than not, Spellbook Magician of Prophecy. The reason for that, he's searchable, he gives you advantage, and if they try to Fiendish Chain him or whatever, Chain Mass Change 2, you still get your effect, you blow up all their back row, it's basically like a Harpy's Feather Duster, and it gives you a 2600 beater, which is really nasty. So I like being able to just kind of turn something that would have been a huge disadvantage into a huge advantage, and Mass Change 2 allows you to do that. Again, it's another card that is good in a lot of decks, but even better in spellbooks. So, yeah, there you go. Plus, if you use it with a kycoo, you get Dark Law, which is nice. Anyway, next up, this is a Ride in Dark Games suggestion, and I actually saw this before it came out, when it was in Japan and stuff, and I was like, that could be really handy, because it's a super good out. Moon Mirror Shield. And basically what this does is it's an equip card that makes it so that whenever the equipped monster battles, its attack changes to whatever the opponent's either attack or defense, whichever is higher, is plus 100. And basically that allows you to attack over anything. So, you want to summon pretty much anything. You can even summon a Veiler or whatever, but you want to equip that to a kycoo or an exemplar or even a blue boy. And basically this is why priestess isn't super necessary right now. It's just that you can attack over anything with this, which is it's really nice. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, if this is destroyed, you pay 500 life points, and you can either stick it on the top or bottom of your deck, which gives it a lot of really good synergy with Grand Spellbook Tower, because that gives you an extra draw every turn. So basically, you can always get back to it and not lose any momentum. You're still drawing extra cards, and you've got this card that lets you overpower stuff. So that's really nice. And last but not least, 2 MSTs. MST is, in my opinion, still main deck worthy. I know a lot of people have taken it out. There's a lot of debate right now over whether MST should be in the main deck or side deck. I still keep it in the main deck just because I like having the ability to, your opponent goes for a lose one turn or vanities when you try to summon something. I'm going to MST that and just get it out of my way. Or there are a lot of cards that can be really nasty if you get hit with them. MST allows you to kind of dodge them, so it's good, basically. And for the record, the reason I'm not running Crescent, we're running all these other spells that aren't spellbooks, which would conflict with Crescent normally. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, 10 non-spellbook spells. So we are not running Crescent because we want to still have the ability to effectively use these turn 1. And last but not least, we've got 3 traps, 1 vanities, 2 mirror force. I'm putting a lot more emphasis on special summoning right now, so I'm not running lose 1 turn. You could, but I do have it decided, so we'll get to that later. But Mirror Force is really nice because you have the ability to put Dark Law on the field, and even if you don't, Mirror Force is still really good because it allows you to pretty much wipe your opponent's field. But if you put a Dark Law on the board, then you can basically Dimensional Prison your opponent's entire field. And of course Vanities is really good because you're able to just stop special summons, which can stop a lot of decks, like even if it's just for a turn or two, you can really stop them and just be able to kind of laugh at them. So anyway, that's the main deck. One sec, we'll go to the side deck, but I got to jump cut really quick. And we're back. Yeah, cool. Extra deck. Sorry. I think I said side deck a second ago. Anyway, had to jump cut. My camera can only record for like 17 and a half minutes or something. Or, what is it? Something like that. Anyway, so, extra deck, starting off, Daigusto Phoenix, because I like being able to attack twice, and, you can just put this on the field, attack, do 3,000 damage, and then overlay. I'll show you in a sec. Sky Cavalry Centuria is another really good card. It basically lets you kind of like attack into stuff and bounce it. He's good. I had a lot of suggestions for that a while back, and I was like, whatever. But since then, I've come around, and it's like, yeah, he's good. I'm not running a Shining Elf or Herald of... No, hold up. What's the other one? The Herald card that I used to run. Basically, since I'm not running World, you don't need Herald. And Shining Elf, I was never using it, and I was like, I'll just, use the deck space for something better. Something that I'll actually use. Downerd Magician, because we like Downerd. Basically, after you've used their effects or whatever, you can just overlay into this, and you have a pretty strong beater, so that's pretty cool. She's also a spellcaster, which is always nice. So there you go. Rank 4s, I could do like a full-on rank 4 engine. I don't have a ton of the really powerful ones. So we've got Ragna 0, Castell, and 101. I don't have Exciton Knight. I probably wouldn't even run it if I did, just because Spellbooks put so many cards on the field, and we're already building up so much advantage that, like, in terms of drawing an extra card every turn and stuff. We've got +1s, we've got all that sort of stuff. So it wouldn't be super useful, and even if it was, we wouldn't even be able to use its effect a lot. And even if we did, we'd end up losing a lot of resources. So not running that. But 101's really good for eating opponents' monsters. This is good for bouncing them back to the deck, and this is good for popping stuff and drawing a card. Other cards that I would consider running, there's that Dark Rebellion Xyz Dragon. I don't have it. That's something I would consider running. Not sure what I would take out, but whatever. I'd probably take out one of these, actually. Number 11 and Dracossack. Big Eye and Dracossack. I do have a second Priestess sided, which is why I'm running these two. Because you can side it in and then make these. They're super useful, and if you have the ability to make rank 7s, these are both really good options. The other option would be that new Red Eyes card, or Hierophant of Prophecy. I already have ways to blow up back row, and the Red Eyes, I don't have it, and these are both so good, I wouldn't really want to take them out. If I'm just going to add another rank 7. So, I don't know, I'd probably figure out somewhere to put it, but again, since I only have the 2 priestesses and one of them isn't even main decked, I probably wouldn't, put a lot of emphasis on the rank 7s. Anyway, Acid and Dark Law for that 1 Mesh Change Second. I actually did experiment with 2 of those once, but what happened was I ended up using one, and then I didn't end up ever drawing into a kycoo. So I was holding this Mesh Change Second. I had a blue boy on the field, but I had already used my acid, and it was just like, man, that sounds horrible. So if I was going to do that, I'd probably find a second acid and throw it in this extra deck here. Yeah, I'm only using the one, but I wanted to have both of these as just options. And a lot of the extra deck in Prophecy is just options. Like, it's not like you need this, you need that. It's just stuff that you think could be useful if you happen to get the stuff to summon it. But a lot of times you don't even touch the extra deck, so I wouldn't worry about it if I was, um, like trying to build the deck. But these two are pretty good, so I might, look them up. Anyway, over to Synchros. We've got, what you call it, Armades, who's really good just for being able to attack stuff. Arcanite Magician, who I really like because he can just get rid of spell counters and start popping stuff. You can use his effect as many times as you want. And since you've got Starhole and two, exemplars, you can pop a lot of stuff very quickly. So he's pretty good. I like him. Ancient Pixie Dragon is actually pretty good because you have a searchable field spell, so he can be sort of good in that situation. So that was a Raiden and Dark Games suggestion. I'm gonna link his channel, by the way. So look it up. Those guys are very, very good players. I'm not, but whatever. Anyway, last two cards. Stardust Dragon. It used to be a Stardust Spark. I don't know if you can even see that. There's a little bit of glare. Whatever. It used to be a Stardust Spark, but I switched it out. You'll see why. And one copy of Crimson Blader because he's super good. Just for, a lot of different decks just can't really deal with getting Crimson Bladered, even in this format where Xyzs are, kind of more important. There are some decks that just can't deal with it, so I like having it. Again, not something you really summon a ton, but whatever. Anyways, let's go ahead and do the side deck. This is really localized just in terms of like what I'm prepared for and what I'm not. But it's just kind of generic stuff that I think could help in different situations. So let's go ahead and look at it. One priestess, just that second priestess because I wanted to have her just in case I needed a little bit extra firepower. Plus it lets me make rank 7s, which I love. So, cool. Malefic Stardust, another Raiden and Dark Games card. Basically, this is actually really good because, again, you have a searchable field spell. He's free to summon, basically. And he protects your towers, and so you're always going to get that extra draw. And he's a good beater, and Spellbooks kind of lack that. We need more powerful cards, so he's very good in that regard. If you can back him up with like a Blue Boy and a Fate on the field or something, that's even better. He's the only thing that can attack while he's on the field, but you're not really going to summon that many other things that you're going to want to attack. So, if you side him in, he can be very useful. A while back, I summoned him, put a jowgan the spiritualist on the field, back that up with a Moon Mirror Shield. He was protecting my tower. Jowgan was protecting anything super powerful from getting summoned. And then Moon Mirror Shield was protecting Jowgan. They ended up MSTing it. It went to the top of my deck. I ended up flipping like a Mirror Force or something, which stalled them for a turn. Got my Moon Mirror Shield back, re-equipped it. It was very nice. It was a very good situation for me. Next up, 2 Max C. I still think Max C is worth side decking in a lot of situations, and it's just a good card. So I don't know, I like it. So we're running 2 of it, obviously. Second power because sometimes you just need that extra firepower. I know I was already earlier I was talking about I don't need the second power. I have it sided just in case, but there aren't some decks you just don't really attack over their stuff. So I don't want to have that as like a dedicated spot in my main deck. Sorry. 2 copies of Secret Village of the Spellcasters. It's really good for locking down certain decks. Basically what it is if you're... neither player can activate spell cards unless they have a spellcaster monster on the field. Since all of my monsters are spellcasters, except for like Malefic Stardust. It basically... I can usually activate my spells. The only thing is, it's kind of a double-edged sword because a lot of the Spellbook, monsters the Prophecy monsters and stuff are kind of weak. And if they get killed, then your deck, which entirely relies on spells, kind of gets wrecked. So it's still good though against like Necroz and stuff. So yeah, I like it. 2 lose 1 turns. Basically, if I want to slow down the deck and add in some other stuff that, like, is just a bit slower and just kind of... Basically, I can switch to lose 1 turns or just add them in and kind of control the pace of the duel, because spellbooks can play slower or faster if you want them to. This can really be useful in that regard, so I like having it sided. And then this is actually one of my favorite cards to side in against a lot of different decks. Double Curse Seal of the Forbidden Spell. Oh my gosh, this card is so nasty. It's like, oh, you're up against heroes, let me just Curse Seal your Mass Change, and then you just, like, lose. Or, like, there's so many different decks that just rely on that one, like, really good spell. I've Curse Sealed, Necroz Mirror, like whatever mirror they activate. They can't use it for the rest of the duel. It's so good, honestly. So yeah, super handy. 2 light imprisoning mirror for light stuff, and I dropped the other thing. Oh gosh, there we go. 2 shadow imprisoning mirrors. This isn't like a super competitive side deck, but I like having a lot of these cards. I like having access to them. So basically, that's the deck. Yeah, cool. I really enjoy playing it. It's probably my favorite deck to play. Just, for having fun. Of course, my friends all hate me because I usually beat them. But, yeah, it's a really easy deck to play, but it's really just kind of fun to... Because there's so many different things going on at the same time that you can really... it just lets you have fun thinking about a lot of different stuff. So, yeah, cool. Anyways, if you like this deck, feel free to check out Raiden and Dark Games channel. Raiden does a bunch of different spellbook builds that are really interesting, so link in the description. And, yeah, I think that's it. So, guys, hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Later!